Yippee-ki-yay, melon farmer.
Hey, welcome back, knife nerds, everyday care people. It's your boy, the Big Canucker, and you must be wondering, why do we have ourselves a set of calipers here? And it's going to become very apparent with the knife that we're going to be having a look at next. This has gotten to be kind of one of my favorite fifth pocket carries, and could even be just taking over, my pocket there for a little bit. It actually happens to be this thing here, right here, this Three Rivers Manufacturing Neutron. This happens to be the Neutron 1. One of these days I'll get a Neutron 2, and I also want to get an Atom. And the reason that I've got this out here is because these knives are kind of not your traditional kind of knives, or at least traditional, not the traditional knives that I carry. I like having stuff that's really big and beefy, and I just thought to myself, oh my goodness, I'm having a hard time putting this thing away here. All right. This thing is super thin. Super, super, super thin. As a matter of fact, I think, what's the blade stock on this? 0.95 of an inch. Let's go with millimeters here, because I am Canadian. It's a Big Canucker. It is 2.25 mils. Wow. Super thin. Let's go with the whole body. 8.6 mils. Let's go with the absolute widest spot here with the clip included, and you are talking about half an inch or 12 mil, the widest part at the pocket clip. And I got to say, oh my goodness, this thing here has kind of made me change my mind a little bit. I am always kind of a big knife type of dude. I like having a little bit of heft when it comes to my knives, unless I'm wearing shorts and stuff like that. Nobody wants to have, the saggy pockets or anything like that. Well, I ended up going to my niece's place, and I had my XM24 in my pocket, and I had this riding shotgun in my fifth pocket, and oh man, I bit myself with that XM24, something fierce on my pinky finger. I was cutting open a bag of salt, a big bag of road salt that they've gotten, or sidewalk salt, because we're starting to get some terrible, terrible cold weather here, and some snow. And I was taking my dad to the library, and I just decided, well, I'm going to cut this open. I'm going to put some salt on there. And I had the big XM24 in my hand, and somehow it got caught, and it kind of came out of my hand. I dropped it, and I went to grab it as I was sliding like this, and I grabbed it with my hand, and it bit into my thing. And the one thing is, they say, let a knife fall, you're going to hurt yourself on the way down, and I did. It landed tip down, and it chipped the tip just a smidge, but everything's all right. One little sharpener, and it'll be right out. But I ended up taking this Neutron out of my pocket, and I cut open the rest of that bag of salt with it after I'd kind of closed up my wound, and it cut through that no problem. I had no issues. No issues at all using this super thin knife to just do that, because that's what that's for. This is for cutting, and I keep forgetting that all the time. I always preach that all the time. You know what? Knives are for cutting, not for prying. And if you've got yourself a super thin blade stock that is a super tall, thin, super sharp edge, you're going to cut cardboard, which I cut, or you're going to cut anything just absolutely with very, very little effort. Very, very little effort. I really, really like this. Let's compare this against some of the other stuff that's out there. All right, we've got the Mini Bag Glider 2 Kaisers. That's a little bit small one. This is something here that I kind of would perhaps put that along the similar kind of vein here. The Para 3, and of course we've got the Ikuchi here, which is again super thin stock. Very thin knife, and but a lot longer and a lot fatter than this Neutron. Now, this is the Neutron 1. Like I said, the Neutron 2 has been out for a bit. I happened to get that one on trade. I traded that. As you guys know, I ended up getting another Kaiser to go with it. And I got to say, I've been really super impressed. I've done a little bit of reading about this knife, and I just, it's kind of a different way that they're manufacturing this knife and kind of a different way they came about. They were, it looks like they were a titanium um, scale manufacturer called Halpern Titanium Inc. I was their parent company, and so they did a whole bunch of machining and stuff like that to make scales. And then they decided that they're gonna put out some knives themselves because they've had all the equipment to do it, and it just absolutely took off. This knife here is super fantastic. Now, one of the things that I was really impressed with is it's got that hydraulic feeling of a really much more expensive knife. Say something like along the Chris Reeves. Now, the Chris Reeves is just like this. It's not like super drop shutty, nothing like that, but it's extremely satisfying to close and open. They've designed the pivot perfectly because it just rockets open. It's got these little tiny scales on it. Now, that was one of the things that, or thumb studs, one of the things that people had a little bit of a beef about is the fact that that's a little bit sharp for their thumb. Well, it doesn't bother me because I open these things with my nail rather than my thumb pad, and they always seem to fly open. The other thing here that I perhaps myself had a little bit of an issue with is very little, there's very little bit of a sharpening trail there that uh, prevents you from kind of, if it was a little bit bigger, it'd be a little bit easier to close, because sometimes you can, that little thing has caught me right in the tip of the finger there, and as you can see how close it is to cutting, and then it just digs into my nail a little bit. I don't mind if it digs into my nail, but one of these days I might decide to give myself a little bit of a bite with this, opening and closing it. But until that time happens, I'm just going to keep on doing what I'm doing. As you can see here, it seems like it's got lots of travel left to go. It's at about 60%. I'm not super worried about that. I think this knife will last quite some time. One of the things I was really impressed with is let's just see here. See, here we have the original G10 scale that this came with. So you can buy this knife from Three Rivers Manufacturing, and now they've gone to a little bit different version here. This here, you can see that it's it's close to being flush. Well, the new scales are nested now. These liners are nested inside there. So there's a little bit more machining work that's done on the scales now. But it's so easy to change these scales out. You don't have to take the knife apart completely. And I'm just going to show you how easy it is. Let's kind of pop that open here. And I just thought that was so neat. As you can see here, this is my buddy Chris's bit driver that he made for me. Unfortunately, I've had to use a little bit of Teflon tape to it, and we will go through that. When Canada Post gets going, we're going to have a full and complete review. This is not indicative of the way he builds stuff. He builds stuff fantastic, and he's got one coming out to me. And you can see how it pops off just like that. And if you need to change the scales, there's no kind of screwing around. You can just pop open a scale, put the new scale on, 2 screws, and you're done. Let's just say you want to just head out for a night out, and you want to have it a little bit looking fancier. Let's just say the G10 scale is on that side, but you wanted to make it a little bit fancy, so I'm going to put this titanium scale on there. There you go. That's how simple it is. 2 screws, pop it open, and it just screws right on. 2 screws, and Bob's your uncle, and you're on your way. Now, my eyes are not the best here. There we go. And I gotta say, I do love these bits. I'm not gonna crank that super hard. I'm not gonna put any thread locker on there right now either, because I do plan on taking these scales and I'm going to polish them, mirror polish them, and I'm gonna lightning strike them because I think that will look fantastic. Oh, there we go. I think the lightning strike on this is going to be fantastic. It's going to look absolutely gorgeous. Oh, man, I wish these bits were a little bit magnetic sometimes. There we go. Bob's your uncle. Now, I was really shocked and surprised at actually how comfortable this knife is for being such a thin knife. Now, when you do get the new some of the new scales and stuff, or they can go with kind of a CNC 3D kind of machined that way rather than completely flat. Even though it's completely flat, I have got some really quite good grip. And I got to tell you, I have got 4-finger grip, And let's go with the left hand. You can see I've got lots of 4-finger grip on there, and it is extremely comfortable. I just have a hard time bending this because the cut is so bad. It hurts so bad. Ugh. Man, oh man, we're knife folks, and yes, we get cut. Yes, we're dumb sometimes, but it's just part of the habit, part of the hobby, and some would say habit. Anyways, so this is just an excellent all-around knife that I absolutely love. I adore it. It's going to stay in my collection for quite some time, I think. I want to get myself one of the TRM Atoms, probably a second gen if they've got them. They've also got the TRM Nerd too as well. One of the things I was looking on their website, and I was quite surprised to find that if you decide that you have an issue or you want to talk to them about something, you want to maybe throw an opinion out there, pick up the phone. You can call them. They don't have any answering machine. A person's going to answer the phone and they're going to deal with your question or your concern. And I just thought that that's a wonderful way. It's all made in the U.S. All the stuff is made in the U.S. So there's no worried about, people who have an issue with buying stuff that's built in China. Hey, I'm not one of them. I've got lots of Chinese knives, and I think Reat is an excellent company. But if you want to buy U.S., this one is built and manufactured in the United States, so no problems there. Now, they are a little bit kind of getting to be a little bit up there. This particular one here, naked they call it, is 190, so it doesn't come with any scales whatsoever. And they say it's dangerous to use a knife without scales. And scales are going to run you from 20 to, I guess, right around 80 to 100 bucks or so. So you can, get this knife at, 210 plus, your taxes and shipping and stuff like that. And but most of them I saw online are right around the 250, 259 bucks or so, 245 bucks with kind of the G10 pattern scales. If you're going with titanium, you're going to be running yourself to above 300, 350, 375. So they are not a super, super cheap knife, but they are one that is excellent all the way around. And it is one of the best slicers, if not the best slicer that I own. If you're going to cut cardboard, I took some pretty thick cardboard and I was cutting with it, and I just kind of did some S curves on some fat cardboard and then went through it like butter, just like butter. So no issues with cutting. That's what these are. These are slicing demons, and they look good to them too. So I will look back here in a little bit here. I'm going to probably, like I said, I'm going to give this a real good mirror polish. I'm going to heat it up, and then I'm going to dip it in some acid, and I'm going to lightning strike it. We'll see how that looks too as well. And I'll probably heat anodize some of the hardware just to give it a little bit of a look. And then I think I'm going to polish that back spacer inside there and just give that a mirror polish. And we'll just see how she looks when she's done with a little bit of customization. All right. So thanks for stopping by. Thanks for having a look at this. This is vast. This is kind of changing my mind on the small knives. I used to hate anything that's kind of 3 inches or below. I was like 3.5. That's the golden kind of ratio. I want to have 3.5 my EDC. This one here, I think this is kind of changing my mind because this is such a capable slicer. It's comfortable. It's got great fidget factor, and it's just a nice knife all the way around. So please don't forget to subscribe, as well as hit the old bell icon, and you'll be notified of any other videos I put out there. And don't forget to like and as well as leave a comment in the bottom. Appreciate you guys so much. Please stay safe out there. Keep your stick on the ice. The shine is side up. This is the Big Canucker saying adios.